Leafs talk. I'm JD Bunkis. He's Sam McKee. Leafs get pumped by the Ottawa Senators, buddy. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of things to get into with this game tonight. I think that this is going to be a carve job night if I had to make a little wee prediction, but I got to start with something a little light here. Leafs having the net pulled. I said today on my show, I think this rivalry has no more juice. They've been in the playoffs in the same time in the same season the last 20 years. You want to guess?
0 times?
Twice
Okay.
in 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just, they haven't been competitive at the same time. They've basically been trading being the same team where it's good regular season, no real playoff juice, with obviously Ottawa having more success there, going to a cup and going to an Eastern Conference final. But either way, I don't get up for this game the same way. It just, I'm just being truthful. I don't feel the same feeling, but Ottawa had a real chance to reignite the rivalry if they pumped an empty netter, like if they pumped a clapper into the empty net. And I got to admit, I was rooting for it. I wanted to see it. I thought it would have taken real guts, real jam. And that is as exciting as I can remember a hockey game with an empty net in a very long time. I wanted it. I thought that would have been spectacular drama, and it was a missed opportunity.
Oh, good. I'm glad you found something to be entertained about in that game. Because
sure, that was the only entertaining part.
Good.
Yeah. But do you agree? Like, wouldn't that have been amazing?
I mean, the broadcast wasn't letting you forget about it. They were really hard.
Yeah, everybody. It's the only notable thing that's happened between these two teams in 20 years.
I thought that I think it's harder to get an empty net breakaway. So to have like the slap shot situation happen again, it would have been a 1 in a million sort of thing. They were firing for the empty net. They were all looking for cookies. Stützle was flying all night, but particularly fast with the empty net. I thought he might take a clapper. It would have been great. I think the way the Leafs played tonight and the way the Leafs looked tonight, that game on the Saturday before the Super Bowl last year was an intense game, and it was close, and there was chances both ways, and like there was actually some emotion in that game. I actually have a hard time believing any of the Leafs would have done anything if there had been a slap shot into the.
But I agree. That's why it would have been such a statement by Ottawa. It would have been like, do something.
Yeah, and the Leafs would have been like, no, we are good friends. We do not need to do anything.
We are honestly the most likely guy to fight at this point is Berube.
Yeah, I could actually see him jumping over the boards and be like, all right, it's time. It's time. Which one of you suckers wants this?
Light up Travis Green.
I will say the Leafs version under Craig Berube has been great at many, many things. And laying spectacular eggs are amongst that list.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I know this team has had the reputation of laying eggs, and it's been a long time since, last year. And, we do so many of these shows, but God, these ones feel a lot worse than they did in years past. Like they are really bad ones. I know, but these ones are bad. Like the Columbus one, the Blues one on home ice, this one on home ice.
Yeah.
There have been some wretched performances throughout this season where I think they've been good. Like they've had good wins. They've played well against some good teams. They're still the only team that's beat the Jets, who won again tonight. But God,
hang a banner.
Yeah. The only real, it's bad. That was a bad dog effort game.
Buddy,
bad.
I agree with you. That was horrible. I want to dig into it because I think they deserve some. I think they deserve a PB whack tonight. Like the boys
carve job, the old carve job.
I think it's worthwhile when you lay a stink bomb like that. All I would say that is a slight pushback to what you're saying is if we went through the schedules, you and I, of years prior, if we just sat down. We sat and had a pint at the bar, and I pulled up the old schedule and I started to scroll through it. You and I would be having some laughs like Larry David and John McEnroe reading the freak book, some of the dog efforts that they've had. I think part of this is just the ebbs and flows of an 82-game season.
For sure.
This is a team that, they lay some eggs. I'm not trying to, this is not excuse talk because again, I think I'm going to lay into a few things here tonight, but yeah, part of it is that. Part of it is, your own echo chamber. Part of it is in this team's DNA. And part of it is that this is a group that, to me, looked completely stuck in mud tonight. They had no energy. They basically looked unbelievably thin at forward. And I know that they have in the past. It's not like losing Matt Pacioretty should affect you that much. And we're doer guys, but to see some of the line combinations that they were throwing out there this evening was like genuinely shocking, even for someone who has watched as many Leafs games as I have, with as many iterations of crappy forward depth groups. This is about as paper thin as it's ever felt, as it's ever looked. Yeah. And, you know, I mentioned this again on my show, the JD Bunkis podcast, the other day, that you can go through it right now, and it's Domi, Kampf, Reeves, Holmberg, all with 0 goals. Robertson's got 1. I think McMahon now has no goals in what I think 13 games. Like, I think it's now 13. This is a team that has only scored 1 even strength goal at 5-on-5 in the last 5 games. And brother, it shows. Like, it's not a mystery as to why that's the case.
There's no question. Like, the forward cores tonight, I can tell you whose was better. And it was the Ottawa Senators, like by a long, margin. They just had way more pop, way more depth in terms of guys that you trust. Like, has there ever been a worse line in the National Hockey League history than Dewar, Holmberg, and Nick Robertson? Like that line, putting those guys through. Like I watched them. I don't know, Nick Spalling Leafs in 2015, 2016. I don't remember anything that bad. Like, holy crap, man.
Sorry, Nick. Out of all the bad iterations.
Sorry, Nick, but
holy took the bullet.
Yeah, I watched some tough ones. Some Colin Greening shifts your boy took in, but holy crap, that was an ugly line. And they obviously
washed up Daniel Winnick shifts.
Oh yeah. And they start mixing it up. Clearly they're looking for anything, but like they started the line with that. Yeah. Max Pacioretty, say what you will. I don't think he hadn't scored much. I don't think he had many points, but he's an NHL guy. He's an NHL guy that plays in your top 6, and he plays a role. And
can I tell you something about that?
What?
He's actually tied for 7th on the team in points.
Yeah, but it's been a while since he'd scored too.
I agree. I'm just saying that's how bad the depth is that once you go past the core 5 guys, which include Matthews, and you throw Morgan Rielly in that mix, who's above him as well, like that's where Pacioretty sits. So like, I sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make it clear that it's like, that guy who hadn't been scoring whatsoever and had put up most of his points in like 1 or 2 games upon return, who also has now played 4 less games than most of the guys on the team, is still currently tied for 7th on the team in points behind the 6 guys that matter the most to this team offensively. Anyways, go on.
And just not having him, and then not having Austin Matthews, where it's been a fun take to have. Where it's like, they're about trading him for picks. Oh, is he going to get in the lineup, his press box? It's like, who would look good tonight is Austin Matthews. And who's really good and really, really, really damn important to this team is Austin Matthews. And tonight, they just were lifeless. Like, you could feel it from, like, they scored on the first shift where Willie Nylander, and like, this is classic Toronto media to pick on Willie Nylander when everyone was awful. Just, like, I don't know, like that is just an egregious skate into nobody, nothing play, start them on the breakout. And that just sets the tone immediately for the night. They go down, let a wide open shot in the slot. Was it Norris that shot that scored? It was Norris that scores the first one. Like, and then, it just never got better from there. And I feel for our boy Stolars tonight because it's unbelievable. They went into the second period down 1-0.
Yep.
That should have been 4-0.
17 shots for Ottawa in the first period tonight.
If this was Ilya Samsonov and net, sorry, Ilya, I'm just throwing shots everywhere tonight. But if this is Ilya Samsonov and net first period, it's 4-0, and they're shutting out the shop immediately. Like there's so many grade A chances, and the third goal to Amadio, do you love it? Absolutely not. But I think I'm going to give Anthony Stolars a pass when he was the only reason they had any chance in this game, and it's literally the first bad goal he's let in all season. So I'm not going to give him any.
Oh my God,
any fault. But like some of these nights, man, it's this classic Leafs team where it just makes you question everything you believe in. Like they have performances so bad that you're like, are they a playoff team? Like, are they any good? Like, it's a really, really hard team to figure out.
This was a bad one. You're right, though. There is no Matthews. It is.
I know. But like, listen, a bad again, one. This one shakes your belief.
Sure, but there has been, I would say, on balance, more good than bad this season. To me, this is just, again, kind of an indictment of the way that they've built this team in terms of what they're going to have with forwards. And it sucks because I don't like doing big picture stuff all the time with this team, but that's what happens when they have stinkers like this. Is you go, where's the fight back? Like, where's the pushback? And where's the depth with the forwards? And if you kind of want to get into some of the guys now, like, that's the thing. Nylander has a bad game, and Marner has a non-spectacular game, and Nyes looked a little slow and like they honestly, who's your favorite Leaf tonight that wasn't Stolarz?
This is maybe gonna sound crazy, but I thought Ryan Reeves had a couple pretty good shifts tonight.
Yeah, I thought so. I would
he actually might be player of the game for me. Like if it's not Stolarz.
I think that it would be between Reeves, OEL, and
OEL. I think OEL was -3 tonight.
Yeah, he was, but he gets it just because he gets the one driver of Pinto's face into the ice, which to me was the greatest moment that the Leafs had, which is that he stuck up for the guy. No, of course Stolarz gets a pass, dude. Like I don't even
point to really talk about
bad. But
the Matteo one's not pretty, but who cares? They're losing anyway.
I don't view that as a bad goal. I view that as like an NHL caliber shot it in the net. Like it's a fine one off the rush. Either way, I thought that the way the Leafs played and the way Stolarz performed, that they were going to come out in the second with, hell on wheels, that they were going to go, oh my God, Stolarz just gave us an opportunity to steal this game. We blew it in the first period. And then they came out in the second, and it was just dog night the whole way through. There was never really a moment. Did they string 2 shifts together tonight where you felt like, oh, that was a good little momentum swing? It just felt like Ottawa kicked their ass wire to wire. One team got up for this game and the other one just did not. And that's the story to me.
For sure. If we're going to start zooming in on some guys here.
Oh yeah. I'm ready.
I'm
ready to take some shots that aren't at former Leafs. I'm ready to take some current Leaf shots.
All right. Well, the Nick Spalling Award tonight goes to Max Domi because, oh my Lord, I feel for this guy right now, man. Like they need so much more from him, and he is clearly a confidence guy, and he has zero confidence. He is like, you talk about a hitter that's taken his bad offense out into the field. That's him right now. He's lost defensively. He's got no touch offensively. He's not driving his line. He hasn't have a point since the Tampa game, bud. He doesn't have a point since the Tampa game when they won that game. We all talk about that game still. That he's playing with Mitch Marner for the last 4 games. It's hard to believe that he hasn't had 1 point. And he gets the chance at the end of the first period. End of the second period when he has a chance to make it 3-1, go into the third with a little bit of a different feel. Totally rushes it, totally heals it. If he's playing with a bit of touch, maybe cuts that back to the backhand, waits 1 extra second, he's pressing, he just hammers it straight into the pillow. Like, this guy is making $3.5 million. They gave him 4 years, and both of us were fans of the contract. I thought it was a fine signing. I thought what they gave him last year was worth $3.5 million, but they really need more from him. Like, I know that's an obvious, easy thing to say, but he is fighting it badly, and he is not giving them near enough. And tonight was a great example of it.
Yeah, I wasn't as upset about the shovel into the pad as you were. Like, to me, that's just one where it comes across, goalie makes a great play. You know what that reminds me of is when like you send a runner home from third and the outfielder makes a great play and you go, oh, I shouldn't have sent them. And then it's not
Giancarlo Stanton running around the base.
Exactly. It's not Giancarlo. It's just a normal guy who's running around third and he doesn't get the stop sign, but then the right fielder makes just an incredible left fielder makes an incredible play. And you kind of tip the cap. And to me, it's one of those where I feel like that goes in a lot of the time. And yes, could he have done something slightly better? For sure. But he is a guy who's fighting it. And it's like,
he's just like, jam it.
For sure. And imagine if he does try to cut it back and he, puts it over the net or something, like, God forbid what that would do. The moment for me with that, where you could really see it, because you're bang on. This guy gets the market, dude. He was raised in it. He understands it. He is a child of it. When he goes to the bench, and I think it's like Connor Dewar picking him up, he's leaning. Do we have that shot show? Did we get that one?
Not. Well, that was on the that might not have. No, they might not have shown that on the Sens. Yeah,
that's the only broadcast tonight. So anyway, if we have it, roll it. I don't know if we do. It's not roll it. So I don't understand why. But anyway, we had this moment where he goes over the bench, and it was kind of like a real just human moment where he slumps over the boards and the guys are tapping on the head because it's a thing. He knows it's a thing. The rest of the team is completely aware of what's going on with him. And he just can't buy one. But I don't know what you do, because he's not effective down. and he hasn't performed with Marner. And I kind of get the feeling like when he comes back, maybe you try to throw him with Matthews to try to get him going again, because you need him. Like, you can't afford for him to be a zero.
No, you got to put him back with Matthews. There's no question.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get some worth out of this guy. You need to get him back to what he was doing last year. And I like him playing with Matthews and maybe put Nyes with those two guys and let Marner go down and run his own line way he's been playing without Matthews. Maybe that's something you look at. I'm not 100% sure what you do with it, but it's just 11 games with nothing. You're an offensive player. Like, that's your whole calling card.
He's got no goals and 6 assists on the entire season.
He's improved big time defensively, I think. Like, I really do think that he's made a conscious effort to try, but it's just, but now he can't do either, because he's just totally
his
lost.
Line blew the zone in one of the most, like, if you're doing most egregious moments of the game, it's everyone on his line flying out of the zone.
That's what I mean. He's just not thinking. He's like, oh my God, I need to do anything. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Like, I've never played hockey in my life. Like, he's just lost. He's lost in it right now. And he's feeling it and he's fighting it. And it's a really, really ugly time for Domi right now. And they need it because Matthews is out and they get no production from him.
And he's supposed to be that too, right? Like, I'm sorry,
when Matthews goes out, then he's supposed to step in and be like, hey, I'm going to give you
and play with good players and produce. And again, like 5-on-5, it's 1 goal in the last 5 games. You know who has more 5-on-5 goals than them this season? Pittsburgh. If Toronto hadn't played 17 games, they'd be way lower in the 5-on-5 rankings. Like, all the teams that are behind them have played like 2-3 fewer games. Like, it's just not great. They've fallen off a little bit in this area. The power, it's funny because this just feels like this is always something with the team, right? Where you go, oh man, the blue line figures it out. And they have been a much better defensive team. I think that some people would call this team more boring under Berube, but I also think that with the talent at his disposal, this is the kind of team they're actually supposed to be. The power play haven't figured it out. And I still think the power play, the first opportunity they had tonight, I liked it. I liked what Savvy's
last one was good too, I thought.
Yeah, they're just moving around. It doesn't feel formulaic. The only thing that feels predictable is that when Tavares gets it in the slot, he's going to do that blind spinorama shot that goes in sometimes, or the shovel. Like, it kind of, it's too predictable on his stick. But the other part of it is like, I'm like, oh, this could be anywhere. Either way, this is just the one area of the team right now where they're really struggling. The good news is, if you're trying to spin this as like the most positive thing, is the guy who leads the NHL since he entered the league in 5-on-5 goal scoring is on the verge of coming back and doesn't look like he's been for a long time.
Well, hope.
Yeah.
I mean, you sent me today talking about the setback. They asked him if did he have a setback? And not really. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it was a little bit of weird language. Yeah. The not really.
Not really. Was it not really, or is it no?
Yeah.
Which is
just say no.
Just say no, or just be honest. Like, just be honest. Be like, hey, he's going to miss another week. Like, just be like, don't keep stringing people along. I hate the way they hate the way they do this. Anyways.
Yeah, but I think a setback saying that would elicit more. Either way, I think
Saturday night against Edmonton seems like a realistic return date for me on Saturday night against Connor. Right? That's they like to go up against each other. They like to skate together in the summer, play some tummy sticks. Those two like it. So maybe he'll get back for that game. So can I, is this, we enter the part of the night where I get to have a good old fashioned Willie Nylander card fest? Is that,
sure, go ahead. You can carve whoever you want tonight. As like I said, I don't think there's anybody that's defensible outside.
God, he is really, really just, he's come so far. And, I really don't, I like watching him play. And like, I really don't have these moments much anymore, but God, tonight, couple turnovers, and the one egregious one that he had right near the end of the second period, or maybe there's like 6 or 7 minutes left. I thought to myself, this is a perfect time to just staple him for the rest of this period, where it's just like, he's lackadaisical. He's playing. We all know what tuned out Willie looks like. And it was there from the start of literally the first 30 seconds of the game, and ended up in the back of the net because he was not locked in. And maybe you try to wake him up by sitting him down, but like having him play the way he did tonight, and then them being like, let's load up the top line. Like, I know you're kind of in the game, but what message did that send to the rest of the guys out there? It's like, oh, he's playing like, oh yeah, like watch the way Willie Nylander played tonight. And Rube, Mr. Accountability, Mr. Tough Guy, is like, you know what? Top line for you. You're going up to the top line with the other good players. Maybe just make him miss a couple shifts. That's it. I thought he was awful. Awful.
So I agree. Here's my thing is to single one guy out tonight, I think would have been a tough look for Berube. Like, had he done that to Nylander, I think then it would have started to feel a little personal because they've already had the ice time thing. And I've already said to you that I think people are kind of babies with the Nylander thing because some guys are coached differently. And he's actually been on record as a guy who doesn't mind the hard coaching. Like he's not a delicate little flower. He's fine when guys hold him accountable.
It's a perfect time to wake him up.
Sure, I agree. Except for, like I said, everybody on the ice was terrible. To me, this is a bigger indictment of the other guys where it's like, you're down in a game. This is a game where anybody can grab some extra ice. You know, if anybody gets going, you're going to get shifts. And so for me, this is another target for the Nick Robertsons of the world, the Bobby McMahons of the world, where you're like, hey, Robertson, how do you have one shot in this game? Like,
he's not even scoring in his Super Bowls anymore, bud.
Dude,
he's not even scoring in blowouts anymore.
You know what's crazy is it's like he only got 11 minutes.
Yeah.
What does that say? What does that say about the coach when they're struggling for offense? They don't score 5-on-5. I'm sorry, but this is the thing that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be your skill, bro. And you can say the things about who he's playing with now, all this different stuff, but it's getting late early for me with this. And I get it. They don't really have any other options. Like, I don't really want Steves to replace him, right? But
I just give it a look.
What?
I'd be willing to give it a look.
But that's what I'm saying is
it can't be worse.
We're at the point now where I'm like, it's office space. What is it you say you do here?
Yeah.
Because you're getting 11 minutes and you get no shots. And it's a night where it's all about, can one guy go out there and give you some jump? And so to me, McMahon and Robertson, they're kind of the biggest, like, what's going on, guys? Because this game should have been it. Second period, you guys should have come out like a house on fire. You should have created opportunities. This was clearly a game where you could have got into it with one play, and neither of them, I thought, had a moment. Like, McMahon, drove a net one time? That's it. The Robertson had one shot. It was the most low danger shot ever. It was from the side of the net at the end of a play where he just kind of flings it on there. It was nothing. It wasn't a dangerous chance. So I don't know. That one sucked tonight, man. I was just like, I got nothing to say about this game. We
got a message in the chat here from the chat on YouTube that is Berube an X's and O's guy, or is he a motivator? The team seems to have less identity right now than with Keefe. I would completely disagree with that statement.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
They're their identity is way better defensively, way harder on pucks, north south, much more of an identity than they did before. But
clearly,
I just think that Robertson, you said, played 11 minutes tonight. That was 4 minutes too much for me.
Yeah.
If they had literally any other option, he's playing 6 or 7. He's just, nothing is happening offensively when he's out there. And his whole thing is, like you said, the whole point of him being there is offense. I don't like to take midseason victory laps a whole lot here in mid-November, but God, they should have traded him after the preseason.
Yeah. At least McMahon put some
get a third round pick for him after the preseason.
Yeah. I just, it couldn't feel like less of a fit, and it's just not getting better. And and you go, okay, so it's 17 games, it's 18 games, it's 19 games. How many is too many? You also have to count before. This was supposed to be the season with the fresh eyes, and it's just it's not the Timmins thing. It doesn't seem to be turning that way. Maybe he gets hot, maybe he starts to put some in the back of the net, but at this point I'm like, if there's a good challenge trade out there, you got to do it.
You're getting nothing for him now is literally the worst time to trade him.
Yeah.
They waited way too long. They were like, oh, he's important to the team.
But I've never heard that they were ever getting anything for him. So I don't really feel like it was
maybe they could have. They would have got more for him at the end of September than they would right now. That's for sure. I'm
just telling you that I've asked around about it, and it was never oh man, teams are chomping at the bit for him. So I don't know. And I will say this too is and Liljegren has shown infinitely more in the NHL than Nick Robertson. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And he's more valuable, shot, position, shot handedness, all these different things. But he went for more than I thought he was going to. So maybe that ends up being a thing with Robertson. It's just, again, it's tough to be trading a guy away. That's how bad it is that this team has no secondary scoring, no forwards right now. And he's one of the guys where you go, I can't. You can't play. You're just not doing anything at all. You're having no shifts.
I saw that trade that the Caps made today. I was like, damn, that was a good trade. Lars Eller's a good bottom 6 guy. And I was like, that is the perfect type of guy that would have helped the Leafs out right now. Like, he's not perfect. He's a little bit better version of Calle Yarncroc, plays in the bottom half, a little more bite, a little bit more scoring touch. And I think he went for a third and something. Like, when they get Matthews back and people get slotted in, like, they can definitely survive, and they have enough talent, and they're going to be good enough with these guys. But the deadline, man, they're going to need to rebuild the bottom half of this lineup, and they will. Like, I'm not worried that they're not going to, but the bottom six is giving them nothing. So,
well, what I would say too is that, to me, the other positive spin on that is this is the clearest that the needs have been going into a deadline ever.
100%.
Like, you used to be able to debate what it was, and right now it's just simple. It's, you need a third line center, and you could use a scoring winger. Absolutely, like, you could use another guy who can put the puck in the net. And whichever one of those two things you can address, or if not at least one of the two, you're going to feel a lot better about this team. And honestly, another thing too is good news that Pacioretty is not done, because when an old guy grabs his hammy, you assume that it's not going to be great. So good on that. Anyways, Sens have won now. What is it? 4 straight in Toronto. They've won 4 of their last 5 games against Toronto. I mentioned the thing. I said it. I actually kind of screwed the Leafs here, because I feel like I cursed them by saying this is no longer a rivalry. And that wasn't even a shot at the Sens, but I feel like now Ottawa faces the Leafs in round 1, and because they've inverted who they are, right? Where it's Toronto that makes the playoffs but doesn't win in the playoffs, and that Ottawa is the bad team that scraps and claws, or the worst team anyways.
But if we're living in the old sort of vortex here,
then the Leafs will lose to the Sens.
No, the Leafs would beat the Sens, because the Sens used to dominate the Leafs in the
the Leafs were the more consistent.
but the Sens would beat the crap out of the Leafs every regular season game, and then they would lose in the playoffs. So if we're doing that,
I went to so many games in Ottawa where I was just like on the bus talking trash, and then second intermission, I'm outside having a cig, just eating it from Sens, having to go back to my seat.
The worst one was like after they played in the playoffs, and it was like the Heatley Spets. It was like 8-1 every game. Those were tough. Those were tough.
Dude, every single game they'd flash the graphic of like, look at the stats that Heatley, Spezza, and Alfredson have against the Leafs. So, million goals in 40 games. It was just painful. Like, God, that sucked so bad. The playoffs or something. But to me, it's just like I said, I'm sorry. I don't feel the juice the same way. I care infinitely more about beating Montreal, about beating Boston. And frankly, they're just like in the Tampa tier where I go, all right, like I care, but it's not, I don't need it, like whatever.
I did this on with Kipper and Gordon today. It was like, where they even rank on their rivals. Like, I would rank Edmonton way ahead of them. I would rank the Jets.
I said it's just like no other. It's like every other. No, I didn't put the Jets higher, because
Jets are higher, 100%.
No, to me,
there's way more juice in a Jets Leafs game than there has been in a Sens game in the last. Like, the fans get into it there. Like, the games are bad.
No. Here's the difference. And this is why, I know I'm going to win this argument. If you're a Leafs fan, and you had to pick one team to win the Stanley Cup that was in Canada to win it, the Jets would win running away in terms of who
Flames. No question.
The fan base would pick. It would be
Flames. Flames easy one. Flames easy one. The Flames aren't I don't hate the Flames fans. I don't like the Oilers fans. The real rivalry. Jets fans. The real rivalry.
Yeah, but you would rather have. Like, there's no Leaf fan that would rather see Ottawa win a cup over Winnipeg. Like, it's just not a thing.
That's fair.
There's not, if there's one out there, it's like they had like a family member who recently passed that loved the Sens. That's the circumstance.
No, you're right.
For you to do that.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it. But I guess the games just have way more juice. The Jets and the Leafs. It feels like way more of an event. Like, I look forward to a Jets Leafs game way more than I do a Sens Leafs game, or Bruins Leafs, obviously Tampa Leafs, Florida Leafs, like all those games have more juice. No question.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Hopefully, I just was going to say, like, it would be great if these two teams actually found a way to meet in the playoffs. If Ottawa somehow, like, you want to talk about the 5-on-5 stat that I referenced when I was looking at it today? You know who's second last?
Who?
The team you say sucks, and you might be right.
Who, the Boston Bruins?
That's correct.
Yeah, they suck. I'm very, very confident saying they suck. They suck, dude. Yeah. They suck. I think Hampus Lindholm left tonight too. He got hurt. So
they're on suck watch. Like, when
they are bad, dude. They're bad.
Here's the only thing.
Glenville comes in there and they just rip off like 100 straight wins.
They're going to fire Montgomery and Q is going to come back and they're going to go on some kind of 17-1 run.
An 18-game winning streak for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, the Bruins are back. The culture is back. It's going to happen. It's so obvious. Quick
rapid fire for me. Yeah, just quick rapid fire for me. Yeah. Matthew Knies clearly wasn't great tonight. Probably his worst game of the season. A lot of people's worst game of the season tonight.
Yeah.
But I texted you about this, but it stuck out to me.
Strong.
Artem Zub had him lined up, like classic spot where guy gets hit, head down, right at the blue. No idea he's there. Makes full contact, and Knies does not go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many guys in the league there do not just get absolutely blown up? Like, that strength he showed there, like no idea who was there. Shoulder on shoulder, hard contact, and he barely goes down to an EM. Like, you are a mule, dude. You're an absolute mutant. He was no good tonight, but that just jumped out to me. Strong young man. Absolutely strong young man.
Yeah. Hey, this just in. Matthew Knies, strong.
Very strong. But I was just like, that's crazy. Like, a lot of guys in that situation, that's a stretcher. Like, that was a big spot. So
yeah, it was. Okay. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkis, at Sammy McKee. Reach out anytime. Always like the feedback. Always like hearing from people who especially like the show and who've got opinions on this team. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple. You can subscribe to it on Spotify. It's genuinely one of the things that helps the show the most. So if you care about it, we ask that you please do it and that you hit the thumbs up and leave a comment on the YouTube if you're watching it here right now. We will see you tomorrow night against the Capitals. Please stone Ovi.
Oh, big bad night for the boys.
Yeah.
Need an Ovi.
Close the show. Close the show.
And Ovi gets a Hattie. No show.
No show.
Canceled.
Yeah. Hat trick, no show. See you guys.